Well, this is John Black, Super Chemist. Playlist is called Trump's legal problems. I think it's part 4 or something. I don't know. Anyways, we were on the last, because I'm not going to go over all these whatevers. I'm just doing the first 3. We're on the third one. The third one would be the Georgia case about election interference. And like I was saying in the last video, I don't just, like let's say Rittenhouse. Remember the Rittenhouse thing where the kid was doing self-defense and they were trying to charge him with murder? Okay, so how did I didn't go to the news. I didn't go to Fox. I didn't go to CNN. What I did is I went to the actual court. I watched pretty much the whole court case. It was all on TV. Then there was like 6 or 7 different videos. Because you know how, like during a riot, like everyone has their phone out. No matter what's happening, even during a riot, you got 20, 30 people having their phones out, recording stuff. And there was a drone that was owned by the police department. It had video too. The whole thing was on video. Okay? You might not see it on just one video, but you can watch this one video, and then it'll go up so far, and then you can watch the next dude, because they're running through this riot, you know what I mean? No guy could have the whole thing on one tape, you know what I mean? But then you could have this guy over here, he has his camera on, right? And he's watching this because these 3 guys are chasing him saying, we're going to kill you. And so you literally have the entire event on video. Okay, so you don't even have to watch the trial. You can just watch the video. It had the whole incident on the whole time, you know what I mean? Same way with everything that I would ever, you know what I mean? I try to look into or investigate. Do the same thing. I don't go to the news like a moron, you know what I mean? So with the election interference, I only looked into one thing, and I watched a court case. This was a literal, it wasn't a regular court where you got a judge and a jury. It was more like a committee type thing, like where the government does, like the Congress. How they'd have a committee, and they have people come in, and they talk to them under oath, and blah, blah, blah. They did the same thing in Georgia, right, because of the election interference. I only watched one guy. That's all it took. It was 20 minutes of watching this guy, okay? 20 minutes. First 5 minutes, he told about 4 or 5 different stories, each one taking about 5 minutes, right? I'll go over the first story, right? The first thing was about they wanted to give him, and I'm just making up numbers. I don't remember the exact numbers on everything, okay, when it comes to this story. So I'm just going to make, whatever. They had like 100, 150,000 or whatever. Maybe it was 50,000. I can't remember. Votes that the person wanted to hand into the vote counter. Okay? Because you got votes, given up here in Georgia, here in Georgia, and here in Georgia, here in Georgia. And then they take them all the votes to a certain person, and he counts the votes, right? He verifies the votes, right? So the guy who verifies the votes, he's on trial. He's not on trial, but he's on the testimony stand. He's on the stand in front of this committee, this government committee, not Congress, but the state government committee. And he's tested under oath, and he's saying, yeah, they wanted to bring in let's just say it's 100,000 votes, because I don't remember. They wanted to bring in 100,000 votes, but they didn't want to verify it. So I told them that I need it before they can hand those votes in, that they have to verify it. And then he proceeded on to say that they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't verify anything, and they were trying to get it around me to get these 100,000 votes in. And I kept telling them that, I sending them paperwork that you need to give me the, sending out emails saying, give me the paperwork to verify these votes. You can't just bring in votes that are unverified. You know what I mean? And so after 5 minutes, he's telling this story, how these people were obviously trying to get these votes in without getting them verified. Why would they do that? Obviously because they're crap votes, right? So at the end of his 5-minute testimony, he says, yeah, I didn't let them have it in. He told 4 different ways how these people are trying to bypass him to get these votes, registered, right? But it didn't work, right? He says, no, I wouldn't, let them do it because they, for weeks, or whatever it was, days, whatever, they will not. What is this? They would not. Why is this on here? Okay, well, anyways. They would not. God damn it. Okay, there we go. So they would not, he would not count those votes. So what do they say at the end of this testimony, this 5-minute testimony, this 5-minute story? The judges, the committee or whatever you call them, they say, oh, so you don't know for sure that these were unverified votes. He's like, well, no, but I proved that they were unverified, but I gave them 4 or 5 different chances to try to bring them down and to verify them. They would not do it. They would not let me verify anything. So you say in the testimony that basically the judges are getting the testimony guy to say that he can't prove that they were rigging the election. But it was so obvious. It's so obvious. Like, your job is to verify these votes before you bring them down, and you ain't doing it, and the guy is harassing you to do it, and you refuse to do it, something's going on there. But after the 5-minute testimony, then the judges started asking questions. Well, so you really don't know, huh? So you never actually got proof that they were unverified votes. And he's like, no, but it's pretty obvious. Then he goes in. Remember, this is like 25-minute interview that I watched, or testimony thing, whatever. 4 or 5 things he's bringing up, 5 minutes on each thing. So now he goes on to the next subject, right? He says, yeah, and I'm making up my numbers again because I can't remember the exact numbers, okay? Let's say 100,000 again, okay? He goes into this other story. Well, in this county or this whatever, this area, there's 100,000 voters, and yet I got 150,000 votes. Like there's only 100,000 people that can vote, but I got 150,000 votes. Obviously, there's some it'd be like 100, even 1,000. You know what I mean? But this was like 50,000 extra votes that could not have existed because there aren't enough that people. There's 100,000 people that can vote, and you get 150,000 votes. Someone lied. Okay, it isn't a mistake. 100 people, that's a mistake. 1,000 people, maybe that's a mistake. 50,000, and it was. I don't know what it was exactly. It probably wasn't exactly 50,000, but wasn't like 100 or 1,000. It was a lot. It was up into tens and tens and tens of thousands of extra votes. And when they got done with that, they tried to, again, they disregarded everything this man says. He gave testimony saying how they're cheating 4 or 5 different ways. And each time the judges would get done with his speech, his 5-minute thing, saying how wrong they were doing. And then the judges of the committee, all of them would gang up on the guy. They weren't being mean, but they were just getting him to say that he has no proof. If you have an extra 50,000 votes, that's your proof, bitch. You know what I mean? And then he went in another 5 minutes telling about another story about how they were trying to cheat and how they were whatever. Each time, the committee would just disregard what they were saying. Like, you know what I mean? So you have no proof that there was... it's like it was insane. It was insane, okay? I don't look into any more of that because at that point, I'm like, hey, I've seen enough, okay? I know this is all BS, all right? So that's Trump's legal problems, okay? And Biden, on the other hand, they have actual bank statements, where he's got 20 shell companies. You see money coming in, goes through the shell companies, and then distributed to all Biden's family. You might say, well, that's Biden's family. That's not Biden. 2 checks. One for $400,000, I think, and one for $10,000 or something like that. I forget what it was. They got 2 checks that actually went to Joe Biden's account, okay? And they ended up being 10%, like the bar mitzvah thing. I think he got like $4 million. Oh, that was what it is. I think he got $4 million. And then it went through the whatevers. And then he got $40,000, Joe. Just like in the Bubba testimony and in the laptop from hell, both of them confirmed that the big guy gets 10%. And Bubba and a couple other people said under testimony, under oath, that the big guy is Joe Biden. Now, how is it that, 10%, and then he gets 10%? The same way with the other check. It starts out in China or whatever, whichever one of these checks, because he's getting money from China, Ukraine, everywhere. It's funny how when the 2 checks, the only 2 checks that we can find, okay, because banks won't, Biden will open up all his accounts and everything, you know what I mean? But it's funny how the 2 checks that did make it through the 20 fake shell companies, and then gets to Biden. It's funny how each time they were 10%. 10%. Oh my God! Okay, Jesus, it's pissing me off with this computer. It keeps going fucking up on me. Anyways, it's funny how that they actually were 10% of the original money that's being sent out, and the big guy gets 10%. I mean, it's Joe Biden's stuff is like an ironclad proof that he's a traitor, and he is selling out our country, and that he's a traitor. There's proof galores. But they won't let the CNN and all the news people won't let that information out, and the DOJ doesn't care because they loved Biden before this because he's such a puppet. Let's see how much time we got. I got 2 minutes left. Oh, I wanted to talk about another case. The case is already done, right? It was the first case, and he was found guilty. And it was because they were saying that he was lying about what his Mar-a-Lago place was worth. And he got some loans on it, right? He got Mar-a-Lago, did an appraising on it, said it's worth, and I'm just going to make up money. I can't make up numbers. I don't know exactly what the numbers were. I can't remember. But let's say he says it's worth $1 billion, okay? Because it's a nice even number. Then he takes the appraiser, the appraising paper saying what, my property's worth $1 billion. He gives it to the bank and he says, this is just my opinion. I want you to go out and do your own research, and then we will get together on what you appraise the property and what I appraise the property as, and we will, come together and figure out what the exact appraiser number we're going to decide on, okay? It wasn't that Trump's handed in this appraising thing and the banks did. Banks aren't idiots. Okay, this is the way everything works when you get a loan. You put out a appraising thing saying what you think their house or your Mar-a-Lago is worth, and then the bank does it. And then you come together and you see who's more right, or who, you know what I mean? It wasn't like that he just handed over this paper and the bank didn't do any due diligence at all. That's retarded. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Okay? And my time's running out, so I guess I'll have one more video about this thing. We'll get on that.